Welcome to Soul Stories, where every tale touches the heart, inspires the mind, and stays with the soul. The office was unusually quiet that evening, wrapped in the soft glow of a fading sunset that filtered through the tall glass windows. Mr. Hale sat at his polished mahogany desk, surrounded by meticulously stacked papers and neatly arranged files, as he reviewed the quarterly reports one last time before heading home. His employees often joked that he lived in his office, but to him, running the company wasn't just a job. It was a responsibility he carried with pride and discipline. The silence was broken by the soft shuffle of small footsteps. He glanced up, expecting perhaps his secretary, but instead found a little girl standing hesitantly at the door. It was Lily, the 7-year-old daughter of one of his junior employees. Her father had brought her in after school because he needed to finish a few urgent tasks. He clutched a pink stuffed rabbit tightly to her chest and looked around the vast office with wide, curious eyes before slowly walking closer. Mr. Hale's stern expression softened slightly. He had always had a gentle spot for children, even if he rarely showed it. Is your dad still working?" he asked kindly, lowering his pen. Lily nodded, but she didn't smile. Instead, she stepped closer, her eyes fixed on something behind him. Then she tugged lightly at his sleeve, so lightly he almost didn't feel it. Mr. Hale," she whispered, her voice barely audible. Yes, sweetheart. There's a camera in your office. The words hit him harder than he expected. For a moment, he just stared at her, unsure if he'd heard correctly. But Lily's face was serious, almost worried. She lifted her small finger and pointed toward the tall bookshelf that stood behind his desk. Mr. Hale turned slowly, following her gaze. At first, he saw nothing unusual, just rows of neatly arranged books, trophies, framed certificates, and corporate awards. But then he noticed it, a tiny, almost invisible black, nestled between two book spines, something he had never placed. There, his heartbeat quickened. He stood up abruptly, the wheels of his chair rolling back as he leaned in closer. It wasn't a reflection, it wasn't a mark, and it certainly wasn't part of the shelf. It was too perfect, too intentionally. Camera, a hidden one. Someone had installed surveillance in his office without permission, without notice, and without his knowledge. He straightened slowly, forcing his expression back under control so he wouldn't alarm the child. "Thank you, Lily," he said gently, though his mind was already racing. Who put it there? How long had it been recording? And more importantly, what were they trying to find? The whisper of a child had just uncovered the beginning of a betrayal. The building was silent at midnight, too silent. The kind of silence that amplified every sound, every breath, every heartbeat. Mr. Hale unlocked the glass door with his personal code, stepped inside, and quietly closed it behind him. The lobby lights were dimmed to their nighttime setting, casting long shadows that stretched across the polished floor. He wasn't supposed to be here. No one was, but he couldn't wait until morning. The thought of that hidden camera recording him, spying on him, refused to leave his mind. He needed answers, and he needed them now. With a tight grip, he clicked on his heavy-duty flashlight, the beam cutting through the darkness as he walked down the empty hallway toward his office. Each step echoed faintly but sharply, making him more aware of his own presence. For the first time in years, the building he himself owned felt foreign, hostile. When he reached his office door, he paused. This room had always been his safe space, the center of his authority and decision-making, but now it felt like a trap waiting to reveal its secrets. He pushed the door open. Darkness swallowed the room except for the slice of moonlight slipping through the blinds. He didn't switch on the main lights. He didn't want to alert anyone who might be watching remotely. Instead, he used the flashlight, sweeping it slowly across the walls, the desk, the corners, the ceiling vents. He moved toward the bookshelf where Lily had pointed earlier. The tiny black dot was still there, almost invisible unless someone knew exactly where to look. But tonight, he was determined to find the truth. He carefully removed the books one by one, placing them on the floor until he reached the back panel. His heart kicked into a faster rhythm. Behind the row of books, tucked neatly into a hollow carved into the wood, was a small device mat, black, coin-sized, a miniature hidden camera. He crouched closer. The lens was no bigger than the tip of a pencil. Wires ran behind the panel, disappearing into a thin channel drilled through the shelf and into the wall. Someone had installed it professionally. Someone who knew the layout of his office. Someone who had access. Tracing the wires with the flashlight, he followed them to the far corner where a small transmitter was hidden behind a decorative sculpture. It blinked faintly, a sign that it had been active recently. His stomach tightened. This tiny setup could transmit everything. Confidential documents laying on his desk, private conversations, financial drafts, upcoming deals, everything the company owned and guarded. This wasn't random, it wasn't a prank. It was an inside job. Someone within his trusted employees had been spying on him and possibly selling information to competitors. Asterisk as he stared at the transmitter, one chilling thought crossed his mind. Asterisk if they went this far, what else were they planning? Mr. Hale arrived early the next morning, earlier than anyone else. He stood in the middle of his quiet office, staring at the hidden camera he had discovered the night before. The small black lens sat silently between the books, almost mocking him with its stillness. Most people would have ripped it out immediately, but not Mr. Hale. Asterisk if someone wanted information, he would give them exactly what they were looking for, a lie. He straightened his suit, took a slow breath, and prepared the greatest trap he had ever set. Asterisk by 9 a.m. The office was buzzing with typical energy. Employees tapped at keyboards, shuffled papers, and greeted him with polite smiles. But every face now carried suspicion. One of them was a traitor, and none of them knew he was already hunting. Asterisk at exactly 10 a.m. He called for a sudden confidential strategy meeting. The invitation was deliberately vague, but urgent enough that no one questioned it. Asterisk inside the conference room. He spoke loud and clear, loud enough for the hidden camera in his office to catch every word when he returned to his desk. Asterisk we've secured a multi-million-dollar acquisition deal. Extremely sensitive, 0 leaks tolerated. Asterisk his voice carried authority, but beneath it was something sharper, controlled. Bait. Asterisk he laid out details of a completely fake business plan, a fictional new tech division, a counterfeit partnership, a non-existent client with fabricated numbers. Everything sounded real, structured, and profitable. Because he made it real. Asterisk he even placed confidential files on his desk, open just enough for the hidden camera to capture. Asterisk after the meeting, whispers filled the office halls. Employees traded glances, exchanged theories, and tried to keep their excitement tucked behind professionalism. Asterisk Mr. Hale returned to his office, sat at his desk, and pretended to work while the camera continued recording every stage to detail. He didn't look at it, didn't touch it, didn't give away a hint of suspicion. He simply played his role. Then he waited. Asterisk hours passed. His phone buzzed twice, then again, and then his private email received a message from a trusted contact in another corporation. Asterisk a competitor had just approached them about the very deal he had, and announced that morning. Asterisk the exact deal that never existed. Asterisk the exact details only someone watching the hidden camera could have known. Asterisk it was instant confirmation. The information had been leaked almost immediately. His jaw clenched. Asterisk his pulse quickened. His trap had worked perfectly. Someone inside his company was spying on him, and now he had undeniable proof. The betrayal was real, the enemy was within, and tomorrow, consequences would begin. Morning arrived heavy with tension. Even before stepping into the building, Mr. Hale could sense the uneasiness in the air. Word had spread through the office like wildfire. Something was wrong, very wrong. Employees stood in small groups whispering, glancing nervously at closed doors, scrolling anxiously through their emails. Asterisk at 9 a.m. sharp, a sudden announcement flashed on every employee's screen. Asterisk emergency meeting, conference room, mandatory attendance. Asterisk no one had ever seen Mr. Hale call such a meeting without notice. The atmosphere shifted from curiosity to dread. Asterisk when he entered the room, silence fell instantly. Gone was the calm, composed expression he usually wore. Today, there was a harder edge in his eyes, unwavering, resolute. He placed a thick folder on the table. Last night, he began, his voice steady. A confidential piece of information that does not exist was leaked to one of our competitors. Gasps rippled through the room. He continued, the details of that fake deal were spoken only in this building. They were never written, never emailed, and never recorded on company systems. Every employee stiffened. And yet, he said, tapping the folder, our competitor knew everything about it within hours. A heavy silence pressed over the room. Mr. Hale lifted the folder and opened it, revealing documents, photos, and times. I have evidence, he said firmly, that a hidden surveillance device was planted in my office, a device transmitting my conversations and documents directly to an external source. Asterisk murmurs spread through the room, some shocked, some fearful, and very few turning pale. Asterisk his eyes landed on a group of employees seated near the end of the table. They avoided his gaze, fidgeting, swallowing hard. They knew what was coming. Asterisk this department, he said slowly, is responsible. Asterisk the room erupted. Some gasped, others turned in disbelief, but the accused individuals only froze, guilt written across their faces. Asterisk you planted the camera, you stole confidential information, you endangered the future of this company. Asterisk he did not shout. His calmness was more terrifying than anger. Asterisk you're fired. Effective immediately. Security will escort you out. Asterisk the guilty employees were led away, defeated and silent. Asterisk as the crowd dispersed and the office began to breathe again, Mr. Hale stepped outside, where a small figure waited quietly, Lily holding her pink stuffed rabbit. Her father stood behind her, terrified that his daughter might be in trouble. but Mr. Hale knelt down to the little girl's height and handed her a small, beautifully wrapped gift bag. Asterisk inside was a brand new art set, markers, paints, glitter pens, everything a child would dream of. "You saved my company," he said warmly. Lily smiled shyly, gripping the bag with both hands. Asterisk Mr. Hale stood up, exhaling slowly. The company was safe again, but only because one innocent voice whispered the truth when no one else noticed.